I'm here with Carine Smith Ihenacho, the Chief Governance and Compliance Officer of Norges Investment Management. Carine, thanks very much for joining me. Now, we're at ECGI's inaugural Responsible Capitalism Summit. What does responsible capitalism mean to you?
I mean, it's a very difficult question. I think we've seen that today. It has so many aspects to it. But we, of course, we're a large institutional investor with investment in more than almost $1.5 trillion. And for us, we actually have in our mandate that we shall be a responsible investor. And I think for us in short form, it really means that when we invest in companies, we have to look at their environmental and social operations, how they're doing that, take that into account when we do investment decisions, but also in how we follow up the companies, that we actually are an owner that cares about that the companies are responsible. But of course, from the company side, if you reflect that, they also have a role here so that they follow international accepted standards, that they really care about how they affect the society such as externalities, not the least the emissions they come out with.
And I mean, so you've mentioned externalities and emissions, and perhaps not surprisingly, climate change has already been quite a theme of our discussions here today. And Norges Investment Management has just released a climate action plan. Can you just talk a little bit about your stance on climate specifically as a responsible investor?
Yes, we actually worked with climate for more than 15 years, but what we recently did, that you say, we came up with a climate action plan to really say to the whole world, this is how we are going to work with the climate risk as a large investor. And it mainly has, I think, three main pillars to it. Well, first of all, we are set clear expectations that we want the companies to set science-based net zero targets for 2050. We also have a clear engage to change approach, meaning we will be actively following up the companies. We will engage with them. We will try to push them to really set targets and have credible transition plans. And the third element is really that we're going to step up our reporting, because we're going to sort of say, have we done what we said we would do? How are we as a fund? How are we getting on when it comes to financed emissions? And how are the companies doing? And we think also we think this reporting element is an important part of reaching the goals we have set.
And on climate, and particularly the investors' role in climate, there's quite a sort of debate going on at the moment around fiduciary duty, and that if the world's governments are sort of setting us on a certain path, it's quite difficult for investors to push companies to go faster than that path that's being set by regulation, because that could damage the returns. And so how do you as an investor think about that balance between progress on climate change and fiduciary duty to your beneficiaries?
Yeah, and we are of course owned by the Norwegian people, and we have a clear mandate from the Ministry of Finance, and the mandate is the highest possible return with moderate risk, but also that we should invest responsibly. But as a long-term investor, we don't really see the big difference between having climate goals, working towards the goals of the Paris Agreement, and the long-term returns. Because we think if you are a long-term investor, we think they sort of merge together, really. And we have actually looked at it, at our portfolio, and seen that an orderly transition towards 2.0 is actually better for the financial return for the fund in the longer term. So we really approach this from a financial investor perspective, and the fact that we are a long-term investor for future generations. And we're also a universal investor. So let's say what emissions that hurt other companies will we will meet ourselves somewhere where we have invested in a way. So we believe that's actually the type of investor we are. It goes a bit hand in hand.
Carine Smith Ihenacho, thank you very much for speaking to me today.
Thank you, Tom. Very nice to be here.